Did you know that as an American, there are places in the world where you're not just unwelcome, you're completely banned? Imagine booking a flight, packing your bags, and landing at your dream destination, only to be stopped at the airport, denied entry, or even detained. Scary, right? Right now, there are countries where a U.S. passport won't get you in, no matter how much money you have or how badly you want to visit. Some are war zones, others have strict government policies, and a few, they simply don't want American tourists at all. North Korea, no chance. Russia, think again. And what's happening with Cuba? The list might surprise you, but why are these places off limits? What could happen if you ignore the warnings? And are there any loopholes? Stay with us as we uncover the shocking reasons why 10 countries have shut their doors to American tourists. Some are too dangerous to visit, while others, well, the truth isn't what you think. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because if you love to travel, you need to know this before planning your next trip. Let's get started. Number 10. North Korea. For Americans, North Korea isn't just a risky destination, it's a complete no-go. No tourist visas, no loopholes, no exceptions. Since 2017, the US government has outright banned its own citizens from traveling there. If you try, you won't just be denied entry. You could face serious legal trouble back home. But why is North Korea so dangerous for American tourists? It all comes down to extreme government control, propaganda, and past incidents. The most infamous case was Otto Warmbier, a U.S. student who was arrested in 2016 for allegedly stealing a propaganda poster. He was sentenced to 15 years of hard labor but was returned to the U.S. in a coma and tragically passed away soon after. His case was a wake-up call. Americans in North Korea aren't just visitors, they're political pawns. Even before the travel ban, entering North Korea was a highly restricted, government-controlled experience. Visitors were constantly monitored, movement was limited, and even taking the wrong photo could get you arrested. Today, the risks are even greater, with heightened tensions between North Korea and the US. So, what happens if an American somehow sneaks in? They could face immediate detention, espionage charges, or worse. And with no US embassy in North Korea, there's no one to help you. If you're fascinated by North Korean culture, there's a safer way to experience it. South Korea offers tours to the Demilitarized Zone, DMZ, where you can get a glimpse of North Korea without the risk. But stepping foot inside the country itself? Absolutely not worth it. Want to know which country on this list is just as dangerous? Keep watching. Things are about to get even more shocking. Number 9. Iran. If you're an American hoping to visit Iran, good luck. It's one of the most difficult countries for U.S. citizens to enter. While it's not completely banned like North Korea, the process is so complicated that most people don't even bother trying. First, you can't just book a flight and show up. U.S. tourists need special approval from the Iranian government, and the visa process is a nightmare. You must apply through an Iranian tour company, be constantly supervised by a government-approved guide, and follow strict rules throughout your stay. There's no solo backpacking, no exploring on your own, and no casual meetups with locals. Why is it so difficult for Americans? Tensions between the US and Iran have been rocky for over 40 years. Ever since the 1979 Iranian Revolution and the hostage crisis at the US Embassy, relations between the two nations have been hostile. The US has imposed heavy sanctions on Iran, and in return, Iran has made travel extremely difficult for American citizens. Even if you get a visa, your safety isn't guaranteed. The U.S. government warns that American tourists have been arrested and detained for months, or even years, on vague charges like espionage. Iran does not recognize dual citizenship, meaning if you have Iranian heritage, you could be treated as an Iranian citizen and blocked from returning to the U.S. So, what's the alternative? If you're fascinated by Persian culture, Turkey is a much easier and safer destination. It has stunning mosques, vibrant bazaars, and a rich history, without the risk of being detained. But Iran isn't the only country where politics make travel impossible for Americans. Up next, we're heading to a place where U.S. passports could get you into serious trouble. Stay tuned. Number 8. Russia. If you're an American planning a trip to Russia, you might want to rethink your plans. While Russia hasn't officially banned U.S. tourists, the reality is that getting in and getting out has never been more difficult. Since the start of the war in Ukraine, tensions between the U.S. and Russia have reached dangerous levels. In response to Western sanctions, Russia has severely restricted visas for Americans, making it nearly impossible for casual tourists to visit. Even those who do manage to enter face a high risk of interrogation, surveillance, or even wrongful detention. The most chilling cases involve U.S. citizens being accused of espionage and held in Russian prisons. Journalist Evan Gershkovich and former Marine Paul Whelan were arrested on suspicious charges and remain behind bars. The U.S. government has repeatedly warned that Russia specifically targets American citizens for political leverage, making even a simple trip a potential nightmare. Even if you avoid legal trouble, the situation for tourists has deteriorated rapidly. Flights between the US and Russia are almost non-existent. Many international businesses have pulled out, and anti-American sentiment is at an all-time high. If you've always dreamed of visiting Red Square or St. Petersburg, there's a safer alternative. Georgia, the country, not the US state, offers stunning architecture, rich history, and breathtaking landscapes, without the risk of being caught in political crossfire. Russia isn't the only country where American travelers are facing serious risks. Coming up next, we head to a nation where war, terrorism, and lawlessness have made it one of the most dangerous places on earth. Stay with us. Number 7. Syria. If there's one country where American tourists absolutely should not go, it's Syria. Once a breathtaking destination filled with ancient ruins and vibrant culture, Syria has become one of the most dangerous places on the planet. For over a decade, the country has been torn apart by war, terrorism, and extreme instability. The U.S. government doesn't just advise against traveling to Syria, it has completely banned U.S. citizens from entering without special permission. And for good reason. The ongoing conflict has made Syria a hotspot for kidnappings, bombings, and violent attacks. Extremist groups, including ISIS, have a history of targeting Westerners, with some Americans being taken hostage and even executed. Even if you somehow manage to enter the country, your safety would be at constant risk. Basic services like hospitals, law enforcement, and communication networks are barely functioning in many areas. Roads are often controlled by different armed factions, meaning that one wrong turn could put you in the hands of a terrorist group. And here's the terrifying part. If something happens to you in Syria, the US can't help you. There's no American embassy, no diplomatic ties, and no way for the government to negotiate your release if you're detained or kidnapped. You would be completely on your own. For those interested in the history and beauty of the Middle East, Jordan is a much safer alternative. With wonders like Petra and the Dead Sea, you can still experience ancient ruins and rich culture without putting your life in danger. But Syria isn't the only country where Americans are at extreme risk. Up next, we'll take a look at a nation where the government has collapsed, crime is rampant, and tourists are prime targets for violence. Stay tuned. Number 6. Libya. If there's one country where law and order simply don't exist, it's Libya. Once a thriving North African destination, Libya has become a chaotic battleground of militias, crime, and political unrest. The U.S. government has not only issued a Level 4 Do Not Travel advisory, but it has also closed its embassy and completely withdrawn American diplomatic presence. Since the fall of dictator Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, Libya has been in a state of anarchy. Rival warlords and armed militias fight for control, making the country a deadly place for foreigners, especially Americans. If you enter Libya, you're not just at risk of being caught in the crossfire. You could be kidnapped, held for ransom, or worse. Westerners, especially Americans, are prime targets for terrorist groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda, both of which operate in Libya. In 2012, the U.S. consulate in Benghazi was attacked, leading to the deaths of several Americans, including the U.S. ambassador. Since then, Libya has been one of the most dangerous places in the world for U.S. citizens. Even if you somehow manage to avoid war zones and criminal groups, the lack of police, medical services, and basic infrastructure means you're completely on your own if anything goes wrong. If you get sick, injured, or need help, there's no embassy, no emergency services, and no way out. For those fascinated by North African culture, there's a much safer option, Tunisia. Just next door, Tunisia offers stunning Mediterranean beaches, ancient ruins, and vibrant markets, without the life-threatening risks. Libya is dangerous, but it's not the only country where Americans are at extreme risk. Up next, we head to a place where war, famine, and terrorist activity have made it one of the worst humanitarian disasters in the world. Stay with us. We put a lot of effort into making these videos, and your support means everything. If you found this helpful, drop a comment below and tell us which country on this list surprised you the most, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It's just one click, but it helps us create even better content for you. Blast off. Number 5. Yemen. If there's one place where Americans should never set foot, it's Yemen. This war-torn nation has been called one of the worst humanitarian disasters in modern history, and for good reason. Years of civil war, terrorism, and famine have left the country in complete ruin, making it one of the deadliest places on earth for U.S. travelers. Since 2015, Yemen has been engulfed in a violent civil war between the government and the Houthi rebel group. This conflict has devastated cities, destroyed infrastructure, and left millions starving. The U.S. government has issued a Level 4 Do Not Travel warning, and even humanitarian workers struggle to enter safely. For Americans, the dangers are extreme. Terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda and ISIS are active in Yemen, and U.S. citizens have been kidnapped for ransom or used as bargaining chips in political conflicts. The Houthis have openly declared the U.S. an enemy, meaning any American caught in Yemen could face detainment, torture, or worse. Even if you somehow avoid militants, daily life in Yemen is a struggle for survival. Food and clean water are scarce, hospitals barely function, and airstrikes can happen at any moment. And if you find yourself in trouble, there's no U.S. embassy, no diplomatic assistance, and no way out. For those interested in Arabian culture, a much safer alternative is Oman. With its stunning deserts, ancient forts, and peaceful cities, Oman offers a rich Middle Eastern experience, without the extreme risks of Yemen. But Yemen isn't the only country where diplomatic tensions make travel dangerous. Up next, we head to a South American nation where U.S. tourists aren't just unwelcome, they could face serious threats. Stay tuned. Number 4. Venezuela. Venezuela was once a hotspot for travelers, with its stunning beaches, lush rainforests, and vibrant cities. But today, it's one of the most dangerous places for Americans to visit. Political turmoil, violent crime, and an unstable government have made Venezuela a no-go zone. And for U.S. citizens, the risks are even higher. For years, tensions between the U.S. and Venezuela have been at an all-time high. The U.S. government no longer has an embassy or consulate in Venezuela, meaning if you run into trouble, there's no official help available. On top of that, Americans have been wrongfully detained on accusations of espionage and political interference. But politics isn't the only danger. Violent crime is out of control. Caracas, the capital, is ranked as one of the most dangerous cities in the world, with sky-high rates of kidnappings, armed robberies, and murders. Criminal gangs and corrupt officials make it nearly impossible to travel safely. And if you're an American, you're a prime target for extortion or worse. Basic necessities like food, medicine, and electricity are unreliable, and protests and riots can erupt without warning. Even if you manage to avoid crime and political trouble, Venezuela's economy is in freefall, making daily life unpredictable and dangerous for tourists. If you're looking for a South American getaway, Colombia is a much safer alternative. With breathtaking landscapes, rich culture, and a booming tourism industry, it offers everything Venezuela once did, without the extreme risks. But Venezuela isn't the only place where travel comes with a long list of restrictions. Up next, we head to an island nation where U.S. tourists are caught in a web of strict travel laws and government regulations. Stay with us. Number 3. Cuba. Cuba is one of the most misunderstood travel destinations for Americans. While it's not outright banned like North Korea, visiting isn't as simple as booking a flight and packing your bags. Strict U.S. government regulations make traveling to Cuba a legal gray area, and one wrong move could land you in trouble. Unlike most countries, U.S. citizens can't just visit Cuba as tourists. Instead, you must qualify under one of 12 special categories, such as educational activities, journalism, or humanitarian projects. The easiest loophole? The Support for the Cuban People category, which requires travelers to stay in local homes, eat at small family-run restaurants, and avoid government-owned businesses. Even if you follow the rules, tensions between the U.S. and Cuba remain high. Political conflicts, past sanctions, and the ongoing embargo have made travel complicated. And while Cuba is generally safe for visitors, Americans have reported mysterious health issues, known as Havana syndrome, which still remains unexplained. Adding to the challenge, using American credit cards, mobile services, and online banking is nearly impossible in Cuba due to restrictions. Travelers must bring cash for their entire trip, making budgeting tricky. If you're looking for a Caribbean escape without the travel restrictions, Puerto Rico is a perfect alternative. It offers the same tropical vibes, beautiful beaches, and rich culture, without needing a visa or worrying about government regulations. Cuba may be difficult, but it's not the final stop on our list. Up next, we visit a country where Americans face strict government controls, visa rejections, and rising hostility. Stay tuned. We put a lot of effort into making these videos, and your support means everything. If you found this helpful, drop a comment below and tell us which country on this list surprised you the most. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It's just one click, but it helps us create even better content for you. Blast off. Number 2. Belarus. Belarus may not be the first country that comes to mind when thinking about banned travel, but for Americans it has become incredibly difficult to visit and extremely risky. With rising political tensions, visa restrictions, and increasing hostility toward Western travelers, Belarus is now one of the most unwelcoming destinations for U.S. citizens. The biggest reason? Its close ties with Russia. Since the start of the Russia-Ukraine war, Belarus has fully supported Moscow, making it a highly unfriendly place for Americans. In response, the U.S. has issued a Level 4 Do Not Travel warning, citing the risk of wrongful detentions, government surveillance, and possible military conflicts. If you somehow make it past the strict visa process, don't expect a warm welcome. The Belarusian government has been known to target foreign travelers, especially those from the U.S. and other Western nations. The security situation is unpredictable, and if you're caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, you could be accused of spying or interfering in government affairs, even if you're just a tourist. Another major concern is lack of embassy support. The U.S. has severely limited diplomatic operations in Belarus, meaning if something goes wrong, there's almost no help available. If you're detained, you may have to rely on third-party countries to negotiate your release, which could take months or even years. If you're looking for a safer alternative with similar history and culture, Poland is a much better choice. It offers beautiful old towns, rich heritage, and easy access to Eastern Europe, without the extreme risks of Belarus. But Belarus isn't the last country on our list. Up next, we visit a nation where extremist groups have taken control, and Americans are actively warned to stay away at all costs. Stay tuned. Number 1. Afghanistan. Afghanistan has always been a challenging destination, but since the Taliban takeover in 2021, it has become one of the most dangerous places on earth for American travelers. The U.S. government has issued a Level 4 Do Not Travel advisory, warning that Americans who enter Afghanistan may never make it out. The risks here are extreme. Kidnappings, wrongful detentions, and terrorism are daily realities. The Taliban has openly hostile relations with the U.S., and American citizens are often seen as political leverage rather than tourists. Since the withdrawal of U.S. troops, Afghanistan has no official U.S. diplomatic presence, meaning if you're arrested, detained, or worse, there's no one to help you. If that weren't enough, ISIS-K, Al-Qaeda, and other extremist groups are still active, carrying out attacks in major cities like Kabul. Suicide bombings, targeted killings, and random violence make even basic movement within the country incredibly dangerous. Foreigners, especially Westerners, are prime targets for hostage situations, and some have been held captive for years. Even if you manage to avoid these threats, the country itself is in complete collapse. Basic services like hospitals, electricity, and transportation are unreliable. Banks barely function, and poverty is at an all-time high. Even humanitarian workers struggle to operate safely, and foreign visitors stand out in a way that puts them at even greater risk. If you're fascinated by Afghanistan's culture and breathtaking landscapes, there's a much safer alternative. Pakistan's northern regions like Hunza Valley offer similar scenery, history, and hospitality without the extreme risks. With Afghanistan, we reach the final country on our list. But before you go, don't forget to drop a comment below. Which country shocked you the most? And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Your support helps us bring more valuable content straight to you. Traveling the world is one of life's greatest joys, but for Americans, some destinations are simply too dangerous, too restricted, or too risky. Whether it's war, political tensions, or outright bans, these 10 countries have shut their doors to U.S. tourists, some permanently. But the question remains, will things ever change? Will these places become safe again, or will the travel bans only get stricter? We put a huge amount of effort into making these videos, countless hours of research, editing, and storytelling, just to bring you the most valuable and eye-opening content. If you appreciate what we do, please hit that subscribe button. It's just one click for you, but for us, it means everything. It helps us grow, continue making videos, and share even more important travel insights with you. And before you go, let us know in the comments, which country on this list shocked you the most? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Love, Heart, Airplane, Globe. Did you know that more immigrants are leaving the U.S. now than ever before? The country that was once considered the ultimate land of opportunity is now watching thousands pack their bags and walk away. But why? Is it the rising cost of living? The never-ending immigration struggles? Or is it something even deeper, something that most people don't want to talk about? For decades, the United States was the dream destination for millions. A place where hard work could lead to success, a better future, and a fresh start. But today, a shocking trend is unfolding. Instead of coming in, people are rushing out. In fact, recent reports show that emigration from the U.S. has hit record highs, a trend that many never expected. And here's the most surprising part. Many of those leaving aren't just undocumented immigrants. They include legal residents, skilled professionals, and even U.S. citizens who say they've had enough. But what's driving this mass exodus? What has changed so drastically that people are now saying, the American dream isn't worth it? Stick around, because today we're diving into 10 shocking reasons why immigrants are fleeing the U.S. in record numbers. And trust me, you'll want to hear them all. Number 1. Rising cost of living. For many immigrants, the U.S. was supposed to be the land of financial freedom, a place where hard work could lead to success. But today, the reality is far from that dream. Everything is getting more expensive. Rent, groceries, healthcare, and even basic necessities. Take housing, for example. In major cities, rent has skyrocketed to insane levels. A one-bedroom apartment in places like New York or San Francisco can cost over $3,000 per month. Even in smaller towns, housing prices are climbing, forcing families to spend most of their income just to keep a roof over their heads. And it's not just rent. The cost of food, gas, and even electricity has surged, making it harder to save money. Many immigrants work multiple jobs, but even then, it's barely enough to survive. Healthcare is another nightmare. Unlike countries with universal healthcare, the U.S. system is ridiculously expensive. A simple hospital visit can cost hundreds or even thousands of dollars, and many immigrants, especially those without employer-provided insurance, can't afford proper medical care. So, what's the alternative? Many immigrants are realizing they can have a better quality of life elsewhere. Countries like Canada, Mexico, and European nations offer lower living costs, affordable health care, and a stronger social safety net. And for those struggling in the U.S., the choice becomes clear. Leave while you still can. Number 2. Stricter immigration policies. For decades, the U.S. has been known as a country that welcomes immigrants. But in recent years, getting in and staying in has become harder than ever. The immigration process has become a never-ending maze of paperwork, delays, and rejections. Green card applications take years, visa approvals are unpredictable, and deportations have increased. Many immigrants live in constant fear. One change in policy, and their entire life in the U.S. could be over. Even skilled professionals who once had a smoother path are struggling. H-1B visa holders, many of whom work in tech, healthcare, and engineering, face constant uncertainty. Companies are laying off workers, and with strict visa rules, losing a job could mean being forced to leave the country immediately. And let's talk about families. Many immigrants are stuck in long waits to bring their loved ones to the U.S. Some are separated for years, sometimes even decades. The system is so slow that people are asking themselves, is it really worth waiting this long? Meanwhile, other countries are making immigration easier. Canada, for example, has a straightforward pathway to permanent residency. European nations offer work visas with less red tape. For many immigrants, the U.S. is no longer the best option, It's just the most difficult one. Faced with uncertainty, delays, and endless obstacles, many are making the decision to leave. Not because they want to, but because they have no choice. Number 3. Discrimination and racism. For many immigrants, life in the U.S. isn't just about surviving financially, it's about feeling safe, respected, and welcomed. But for an increasing number of people, that feeling is disappearing. In recent years, racism, xenophobia, and anti-immigrant sentiment have been on the rise. Hate crimes have increased, and many immigrants, whether they're documented or not, feel like they're constantly being watched, judged, or even targeted. The workplace isn't always a safe space either. Many immigrants face job discrimination, lower wages, and fewer opportunities for promotions. Even highly skilled professionals often struggle to get the same recognition and pay as their American-born colleagues. And then there's the media and political rhetoric. Immigrants are often portrayed as job stealers, criminals, or a burden to the system. When powerful voices push these narratives, it fuels hostility in communities, schools, and workplaces. For many, the pressure becomes too much. Why stay in a place where you're constantly treated as an outsider? Countries like Canada, Portugal, and New Zealand actively welcome immigrants and celebrate diversity. Instead of fighting against discrimination every day, many immigrants choose to start fresh in a country where they feel truly accepted. In the end, it's not just about finding better jobs or lower costs. It's about dignity, respect, and a sense of belonging. And for many, the U.S. no longer feels like home. Have you or someone you know ever faced discrimination in the U.S.? Share your experience in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And hey, if you found this video eye-opening, hit that subscribe button. It's just one click, but it helps us more than you know. Number 4. Better opportunities abroad. For decades, the United States was seen as the ultimate land of opportunity. But today, many immigrants are realizing something shocking. Better opportunities exist elsewhere. Countries like Canada, Australia, Germany, and even Mexico are rolling out welcoming immigration policies, strong economies, and better work-life balance. In some cases, these countries offer higher salaries, more benefits, and easier paths to permanent residency, all without the struggles many face in the U.S. Take Canada, for example. While the U.S. makes it incredibly difficult to get a green card, Canada offers direct pathways to permanent residency. Skilled workers can apply through programs like the Express Entry system, which is faster and less complicated than the U.S. visa process. Then there's Europe. Countries like Germany and the Netherlands actively recruit international workers and offer free or affordable education, universal healthcare, and generous social benefits. Even smaller nations like Portugal and Spain have been attracting immigrants with affordable living costs and easy residency programs. And let's not forget about remote work. More immigrants are choosing to leave the U.S. because they can now work for American companies from abroad, without dealing with high costs and visa restrictions. The bottom line? The U.S. is no longer the only dream destination. Many immigrants are choosing countries that treat them better, pay them more, and offer a better quality of life. Number 5. Lack of work-life balance. For many immigrants, moving to the U.S. meant working hard to build a better life. But what they didn't expect was just how exhausting that work would be. Unlike many other developed countries, the U.S. has some of the worst work-life balance policies in the world. Long hours, minimal vacation days, and a culture that glorifies overworking make it nearly impossible to enjoy life outside of work. In the U.S., most workers get 0 guaranteed paid vacation days. That's right, 0. It's entirely up to employers whether they offer paid time off, and many immigrants, especially those in low-wage jobs, barely get a break. Compare that to Europe, where workers get at least 4 weeks of paid vacation by law. In France, Spain, and Germany, employees actually take their time off without fear of losing their jobs. Meanwhile, in the U.S., many workers feel guilty or pressured not to take time off at all. And then there's paid parental leave. In the U.S., new parents are often forced to return to work just weeks after having a baby. In contrast, countries like Sweden, Canada, and the U.K. offer several months or even years of paid leave. For many immigrants, the decision becomes clear. Why stay in a country that forces you to work endlessly with little time for family, rest, or personal growth? Instead of spending their lives working just to survive, many are choosing to move to countries where life is about more than just work. Do you think the US needs better work-life balance policies? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget, subscribing is free, but it helps us keep making videos that matter. Number 6. Healthcare challenges. One of the biggest shocks for many immigrants after arriving in the US is the insanely high cost of healthcare. In most developed countries, seeing a doctor or going to the hospital doesn't leave you drowning in debt. But in the US, one medical emergency can wipe out years of savings. Unlike countries with universal healthcare, the US runs on a for-profit system where everything, from an ambulance ride to a simple checkup, can cost hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And if you don't have insurance, good luck. Let's talk numbers. The average cost of giving birth in the US is around $18,000, without complications. A simple ER visit? Easily $1,000 or more. Even basic medications like insulin can cost hundreds of dollars per month. Compare this to countries like Canada, the UK, or Germany, where healthcare is either free or heavily subsidized, making it affordable for everyone, including immigrants. For those who do have insurance, it's still a headache. Many employers provide health coverage, but premiums, deductibles, and co-pays add up. And if you lose your job, you lose your healthcare too. The result? Many immigrants are choosing to leave the US for places where getting sick doesn't mean going bankrupt. Countries with public healthcare systems, lower costs, and better access to medical care are becoming far more attractive. At the end of the day, health is priceless. But in the US, it comes at a cost too high for many to bear. Number 7. Safety concerns and gun violence. For many immigrants, safety is a top priority when choosing where to live. But in the US, the growing concerns over gun violence, crime, and mass shootings have made many reconsider if it's really the best place to raise a family. Here's a chilling fact. The US has more mass shootings than any other developed country. Schools, shopping malls, concerts, places that should feel safe, have become targets for violence. Parents worry about sending their kids to school, employees feel uneasy in their workplaces, and no one truly knows when or where the next tragedy will happen. The numbers don't lie. There are more guns than people in the US, and while other countries have strict gun control laws, America's laws vary by state, making it easier for firearms to end up in the wrong hands. Many immigrants come from countries where gun violence is rare, so adjusting to the fear and uncertainty in the US is overwhelming. But it's not just about guns. Crime rates in some cities have been rising, and many people, especially those in lower-income communities, feel like they're constantly at risk. Meanwhile, countries like Japan, Canada, and many European nations have much lower crime rates, stricter gun laws, and a stronger sense of public safety. For many immigrants, the decision is clear. Why stay in a country where personal safety feels like a gamble? Instead, they're choosing to move to places where they can live with less fear and more peace of mind. Do you think the US needs stricter gun laws to make the country safer? Let us know in the comments. And if this video opened your eyes, hit that subscribe button. It's free and it helps us create more content like this. Number 8. Family separation and visa issues. For many immigrants, family is everything. But in the US, strict immigration policies and endless visa delays have made it nearly impossible for families to stay together. Imagine this. You move to the US for a better life, but you have to leave your spouse, children, or parents behind. You apply for a family reunification visa, hoping they'll be able to join you soon. But instead of months, you're told to wait years, sometimes even decades. This isn't just a rare case. Right now, thousands of families are stuck in immigration limbo, waiting for approvals that never seem to come. The US immigration system is so backlogged and complicated that some immigrants give up hope and decide to leave instead. And it's not just family visas, even work and student visas come with extreme uncertainty. Many skilled workers on H-1B visas face the risk of sudden layoffs, which could mean being forced to leave the country in a matter of weeks. International students invest years into their education in the US, only to struggle with securing a work visa afterward. Meanwhile, other countries have faster, more family-friendly immigration policies. In places like Canada, Portugal, and Australia, the process of bringing loved ones over is much smoother and quicker. For many immigrants, the choice becomes clear. Why wait years to reunite with family when other countries make it easier? At the end of the day, no job, no dream, and no opportunity is worth being separated from the people you love. Number 9. Lack of social support systems. For many immigrants, moving to the U.S. means chasing the dream of financial success. But what happens when things go wrong? What if you lose your job, get sick, or simply need a little help to get back on your feet? Unlike many other developed nations, the U.S. offers very little in terms of social support. Let's start with unemployment benefits. Losing your job in the U.S. can be devastating because unemployment benefits are limited, difficult to access, and vary by state. In contrast, many European countries provide generous unemployment assistance that allows people to stay afloat while searching for new opportunities. And what about housing? The U.S. has one of the worst affordable housing crises in the world. Rent prices are skyrocketing, but government assistance programs are overwhelmed and underfunded. In cities like New York, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, thousands of immigrants and even U.S. citizens are struggling to keep up with unbearable rent prices. Then there's childcare. In the U.S., parents often spend thousands of dollars per month on daycare. In contrast, countries like Sweden, Germany, and France offer low-cost or even free childcare, allowing families to work without financial strain. The reality is, in the U.S., you're often on your own. Unlike other countries with strong welfare systems, affordable education, and universal health care, the U.S. forces people to constantly hustle just to survive. For many immigrants, this isn't the life they dreamed of. Instead of struggling with little to no safety net, many are choosing to move to countries that actually support their citizens and residents. Number 10. Political and economic uncertainty. For many immigrants, stability is everything. They leave their home countries hoping to find a secure future in the U.S. But in recent years, political turmoil, economic struggles, and unpredictable immigration policies have made life in America feel more uncertain than ever. Let's start with immigration laws. Every few years, new administrations bring major changes to visa policies, green card rules, and deportation priorities. One president might offer protections for immigrants, while the next one reverses everything. This leaves many immigrants living in fear, unsure if they'll still have a legal status next year. Then there's the economy. While the U.S. has long been seen as an economic powerhouse, wages are struggling to keep up with inflation, job layoffs are increasing, and the wealth gap is growing. Many immigrants find themselves working harder but saving less. Meanwhile, countries like Canada, Germany, and Australia offer better job security, strong worker protections, and a lower cost of living. And let's not forget about the divisive political climate. Tensions over immigration, social issues, and economic policies have made the U.S. feel more unstable than ever. Many immigrants say they're tired of the uncertainty, the constant policy changes, and the feeling that they could be targeted at any time. For those who came seeking a better future, the U.S. now feels too unpredictable. Instead of waiting for things to improve, many are choosing to move to places where they can build a stable, secure life, without constantly worrying about what the next election will bring. For years, the U.S. was seen as the land of opportunity, the place where dreams came true. But for many immigrants, that dream has turned into a struggle for survival. From skyrocketing living costs and harsh immigration policies to lack of safety, poor health care, and endless uncertainty, the reality is clear. More and more people are saying, enough is enough. They're choosing to leave, not because they want to, but because they have to. The truth is, making the decision to leave everything behind isn't easy. It takes courage, sacrifice, and hope that there's something better out there. And for many, there is. Countries that welcome immigrants, support families, and offer a better quality of life are becoming the new dream destinations. But this is a conversation that needs to be heard. These stories matter, and the world needs to know why so many immigrants are turning their backs on the so-called American dream. We put our heart and soul into making these videos because this information needs to be shared. But the truth is, creating content like this is tough. It takes time, research, and effort. If you found this video valuable, please support us by subscribing. It's just one click for you, but for us it means everything. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay informed, stay empowered, love. Did you know that some American cities are spending billions of taxpayer dollars just to handle the surge of illegal immigration? Or that in some areas, crime rates have spiked, homelessness has skyrocketed, and emergency shelters are completely overwhelmed? This isn't just a political debate. It's a real crisis that's hitting major U.S. cities harder than ever before. But which cities are being affected the most? And more importantly, is your city on the list? From New York to Los Angeles, once thriving cities are now facing severe economic strain, public safety concerns, and overcrowded hospitals and schools. Residents are frustrated, businesses are struggling, and city officials are desperately trying to keep things under control. But who's paying the price? And what happens if things continue at this rate? In today's video, we're counting down the 10 U.S. cities that have been impacted the most by illegal immigration, and some of them may surprise you. Stay with us as we break down the numbers, the stories, and the shocking reality of how illegal immigration is reshaping America's biggest cities. And trust us, you'll want to see which city takes the #1 spot, because it's not the one you think. Let's get started on fire. Number 10. Chicago, Illinois. Chicago, once known as the heart of America's Midwest, is now facing serious challenges due to the overwhelming surge of illegal immigration. Crime is on the rise, especially in areas already struggling with violence. Many neighborhoods, particularly on the south and west sides, have reported an increase in violent crime, with some attributing it to the growing number of undocumented individuals. While officials debate the exact connection, local residents are feeling the effects firsthand. Police resources are already stretched thin, and the surge of new arrivals has only added to the strain on law enforcement. Public services are overloaded. Homeless shelters and food banks are now operating beyond capacity, struggling to provide aid to both longtime residents and the newly arrived migrant population. The city has spent hundreds of millions of dollars on temporary housing and assistance programs, leaving taxpayers questioning the long-term sustainability of these efforts. Schools and hospitals are feeling the impact. Local schools are dealing with overcrowded classrooms, struggling to accommodate thousands of new students who often require additional resources, such as bilingual education and specialized support services. At the same time, hospitals and clinics are reporting longer wait times and resource shortages as emergency rooms fill up with new patients in need of urgent care. Frustration is growing among residents. Many longtime Chicagoans are frustrated with how the situation is being handled. Protests have erupted across the city, with residents demanding that local leaders find a better solution before the city's economy and infrastructure collapse under the pressure. Is Chicago beyond saving, or can the city recover before it's too late? Coming up next, a city that's spending billions on migrants while locals struggle. New York City. Number 9. New York City, New York. New York City, America's financial capital and one of the most iconic cities in the world, is now buckling under the weight of an unprecedented migrant crisis. Once a symbol of opportunity, NYC is now facing a breaking point as it struggles to house, feed, and support the massive influx of undocumented immigrants. The city's homeless shelters are at full capacity, forcing officials to convert hotels, school gyms, and even police stations into makeshift housing facilities. Despite these efforts, thousands of migrants are still left without a place to stay, and some are sleeping on sidewalks, in subway stations, or in overcrowded tent cities. The problem is so severe that Mayor Eric Adams has warned that the crisis could destroy New York City. The financial toll is staggering. NYC has already spent over $2 billion on migrant assistance, and that number is expected to surpass $12 billion in the next few years. These funds cover food, shelter, healthcare, and legal aid, but many taxpayers are questioning whether the city can afford it. Local programs meant to help struggling New Yorkers are being cut or defunded, leaving low-income residents feeling abandoned by their own government. Hospitals and emergency services are overwhelmed. Doctors and nurses are reporting longer wait times, overcrowded ERs, and supply shortages, making it harder for citizens to get the care they need. Schools are also struggling, as thousands of migrant children are enrolled, straining an already underfunded education system. Frustration is growing, with protests erupting across the city. Residents are demanding action while city officials warn that things will only get worse without federal support. Up next, a city where homelessness is spiraling out of control. Los Angeles, California. Number 8. Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles, once a city of dreams, is now facing one of the worst homelessness and crime crises in the nation, and the surge in illegal immigration is making the situation even more dire. With tens of thousands of migrants arriving in recent years, LA's public services, housing, and economy are stretched beyond their limits. Homelessness is spiraling out of control. The city was already dealing with an exploding homeless population, and the influx of migrants has pushed the crisis to unprecedented levels. Skid Row, known for its large homeless encampments, is expanding as newly arrived migrants join the thousands already living on the streets. Shelters are overwhelmed, and many migrants end up living in makeshift tents under bridges or in dangerous conditions. Public schools are struggling. Thousands of migrant children have entered the school system, but many lack proper documentation or English language skills, forcing schools to redirect resources and teachers. Class sizes are growing, and education quality is declining as a result. Hospitals and emergency services are at a breaking point. With more people relying on public health care, ER wait times have skyrocketed, and essential services are being pushed to the limit. Some hospitals have reported supply shortages and understaffed medical teams, putting both migrants and longtime residents at risk. Crime rates are rising, and many Angelenos are feeling unsafe in their own city. Carjackings, theft, and violent crimes are becoming more common, leading to increased frustration and public outcry. Can Los Angeles recover, or is the city heading toward total collapse? Next up, a city with a booming economy but a migrant crisis spiraling out of control. Denver, Colorado. Number 7. Denver, Colorado. Denver, a city known for its booming economy and high quality of life, is now facing an immigration crisis that is pushing its resources to the limit. Once a thriving hub for business and tourism, Denver is now struggling to keep up with the massive influx of migrants, and the effects are being felt across the city. Public spending has skyrocketed. Denver has already spent tens of millions of dollars on emergency shelter, food programs, and health care for migrants. But city officials warn that the budget is unsustainable, and without federal aid, Denver could soon be forced to cut essential services. Taxpayers are growing frustrated, asking why their money is going to migrant support while housing costs, food prices, and utility bills continue to rise. Homeless shelters and housing programs are overwhelmed. The city was already dealing with a serious homelessness problem, and now with thousands of additional people arriving, affordable housing has become nearly impossible to find. Many migrants are forced to sleep in overcrowded shelters, city parks, or even inside bus stations, creating a public safety concern. The job market is tightening and wages are being driven down. Migrants, often desperate for work, are taking jobs at lower wages, making it harder for local workers to compete. Small business owners are feeling the impact, with some struggling to balance the demand for cheap labor while keeping their businesses profitable. Tensions are rising among residents. Protests and heated city council meetings have erupted as Denver locals demand action. People are asking, how much more can the city handle? Coming up next, the nation's capital is dealing with a crisis of its own, Washington, D.C. Number 6. Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., the seat of American power, is now struggling to handle a migrant crisis that city officials never anticipated. While politicians in Congress debate immigration policies, the streets of D.C. are facing the harsh realities of an overwhelmed system. Homeless shelters are overflowing. The city's emergency housing system has been stretched to its limit, forcing officials to place migrants in hotels, recreation centers, and even makeshift tent cities. Despite these efforts, thousands remain without stable housing, leaving many to sleep in parks, subway stations, and abandoned buildings. Public services are nearing collapse. Hospitals are reporting severe overcrowding, with emergency rooms struggling to handle the surge of uninsured patients. Public schools are running out of space as thousands of migrant children have entered the education system, creating a staffing and resource crisis. Teachers are under immense pressure as schools scramble to provide bilingual instruction and special education services. The financial burden is staggering. Washington, D.C. has spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to accommodate migrants, but city officials warn that the costs are becoming unsustainable. Local taxpayers are growing frustrated, questioning why their public resources are being stretched so thin, while crime and homelessness continue to rise. Frustration is turning into outrage. Protests have broken out across the city, with residents demanding that the federal government step in with real solutions before the crisis spirals further out of control. Up next, a border state city that's feeling the full impact of illegal immigration. Phoenix, Arizona. Number 5. Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix, Arizona, one of the fastest growing cities in America, is now facing the full impact of illegal immigration due to its close proximity to the U.S.-Mexico border. What was once a city known for its booming economy and affordable living is now dealing with rising crime, overwhelmed public services, and growing frustration among residents. Law enforcement is stretched thin. With thousands of migrants crossing into Arizona every month, local police and border patrol agents are struggling to keep up. Human smuggling, drug trafficking, and cartel-related crimes have skyrocketed, making Phoenix one of the cities hit hardest by the border crisis. Officers are working longer hours, and crime rates in certain areas have seen a significant spike. Homelessness is on the rise, shelters are overflowing, and migrants who can't find housing are setting up makeshift camps in parks and underpasses. Many residents worry that these encampments are fueling crime and unsafe living conditions, while business owners report an increase in theft, vandalism, and break-ins. The healthcare system is collapsing. Hospitals in Phoenix are overrun with new patients, many of whom require emergency medical care but lack insurance. This has led to longer wait times, overworked medical staff, and financial strain on public hospitals that are struggling to stay afloat. Residents are demanding action. Protests have erupted across the city, with people calling for stronger border enforcement and more federal support to relieve the pressure. The question remains, how much longer can Phoenix sustain this crisis before reaching its breaking point? Coming up next, a city known for its progressive policies but now struggling with its own immigration crisis, San Francisco, California. Number 4. San Francisco, California. San Francisco, once known as a hub of innovation and prosperity, is now facing a growing crisis fueled by illegal immigration. With its progressive policies and sanctuary city status, San Francisco has long been a destination for migrants. But now, the city is struggling to keep up with the financial, social, and public safety consequences of its own policies. Homelessness is spiraling out of control. The city was already dealing with one of the worst homelessness crises in the country, but the arrival of thousands of undocumented migrants has pushed it to new extremes. Entire neighborhoods are now filled with tents, makeshift shelters, and people sleeping in the streets, leading to a sharp increase in crime, drug use, and unsanitary conditions. Crime rates are rising. Business owners in downtown San Francisco report record-high theft, burglaries, and violent crimes, leading many to shut down or relocate. Some say the city's lenient policies have made it a hot spot for lawlessness, while frustrated residents feel ignored by their leaders. Public services are overwhelmed. Hospitals are seeing longer wait times, and city-run health clinics are struggling to provide care to both long-time residents and migrants. Schools are also feeling the pressure, with overcrowded classrooms and a lack of resources for migrant children who often need additional language and educational support. Despite spending hundreds of millions of dollars on housing programs, food assistance, and healthcare for migrants, the city continues to sink deeper into crisis. Many are asking, will San Francisco's progressive approach ultimately lead to its downfall? Next up, a city at the front lines of the border crisis, El Paso, Texas. Number 3. El Paso, Texas. El Paso, Texas is ground zero for the illegal immigration crisis. Sitting directly on the U.S.-Mexico border, the city has become one of the first stops for thousands of migrants crossing into the United States every day. What was once a relatively peaceful border town is now overwhelmed by an unmanageable influx of people, stretching its resources to the limit. The city's emergency shelters are beyond capacity. Thousands of migrants sleep on sidewalks, in parks, and outside government buildings because there simply isn't enough space to house them. Makeshift camps have sprung up all over the city, creating serious public health and safety concerns. Many residents fear that El Paso's infrastructure is on the verge of total collapse. Hospitals and first responders are completely overwhelmed. Local emergency rooms are packed, and ambulance response times have significantly increased as medical professionals struggle to handle the constant demand. Many migrants arrive in need of urgent medical care but lack health insurance, leaving hospitals with millions of dollars in unpaid medical bills. Crime and border-related violence are on the rise. With cartel activity increasing, human smuggling and drug trafficking have become major threats to El Paso's residents. Law enforcement is doing everything they can, but resources are stretched dangerously thin. Despite its residents' resilience, El Paso is drowning in an immigration crisis with no clear solution in sight. How much longer can this city hold on? Up next, a major Texas city facing a surge in violent crime and economic strain, Houston, Texas. Number 2. Houston, Texas. Houston, the fourth largest city in the U.S., is experiencing one of the most severe illegal immigration crises in the country. As a major hub for jobs and industry, Houston has become a top destination for migrants, but the sheer number of arrivals has pushed the city's economy, public services, and safety to the edge. Violent crime is rising. Law enforcement officials have linked gang-related violence, drug trafficking, and human smuggling to the surge in illegal immigration. Neighborhoods that were once considered safe are now experiencing increased shootings, robberies, and assaults, leaving residents fearful for their safety. Police resources are stretched thin, and officers are struggling to respond to the growing crime wave. Public services are at a breaking point. The city's hospitals, shelters, and food banks are completely overwhelmed. Emergency rooms are filled beyond capacity, and local clinics are struggling to provide care for the rapidly growing population. Schools are facing the same crisis, with thousands of new students arriving, many of whom require additional language support and special resources. Teachers are overworked and underfunded, leading to a drop in education quality across the city. The economic strain is crippling local businesses. Many companies have been forced to cut wages or lay off workers as the competition for jobs intensifies. At the same time, the cost of living in Houston has skyrocketed, making it harder for both residents and new arrivals to afford housing, food, and other necessities. Frustration is turning into outrage. Protests have erupted throughout the city as residents demand stronger border security and relief from the financial burden. Many are asking, how much longer can Houston survive under this pressure? Next up, the #1 U.S. city hit hardest by illegal immigration. This one may surprise you. Number 1. New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans may not be the first city that comes to mind when thinking about the immigration crisis, but this historic southern city is now facing an overwhelming surge of illegal migration, and it's hitting harder than anyone expected. Once famous for its rich culture, jazz, and food, New Orleans is now struggling with economic collapse, crime, and an overstressed public system due to the rapid influx of undocumented migrants. The job market is collapsing. New Orleans has long struggled with high unemployment rates, but the surge of migrants has intensified competition for low-wage jobs, making it even harder for local residents to find work. Some businesses are hiring migrants at lower wages, which has sparked tensions between workers and employers. Crime is spiraling out of control. The city has seen a dramatic rise in violent crimes, including carjackings, robberies, and assaults. Law enforcement is overwhelmed and understaffed, struggling to keep up with the increase in gang activity and organized crime linked to human trafficking networks. Many longtime residents are considering leaving the city altogether due to concerns about safety. Public services are failing. Homeless shelters, food banks, and medical facilities are collapsing under the pressure. The city's healthcare system is struggling to care for the massive number of new patients, leading to longer wait times and fewer available resources for both migrants and native residents. Schools are also severely overcrowded, and teachers are struggling to keep up with the surge of new students who require extra support. New Orleans is at a dangerous tipping point. The city was already dealing with economic hardship, but now, with limited resources and no clear federal assistance, many are wondering, can New Orleans survive this crisis? Or is the city doomed to collapse? What do you think? Is illegal immigration destroying America's biggest cities? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more eye-opening reports. America's cities are changing before our eyes. From New York to Los Angeles, from Houston to New Orleans, once thriving communities are now struggling to survive under the weight of an immigration crisis that seems to have no end in sight. Crime is rising. Homelessness is out of control. Schools, hospitals, and public services are being pushed beyond their limits. And yet many of our leaders still refuse to acknowledge the full impact of what's happening. The hardest part? It's the everyday people who suffer the most. Hardworking Americans, families, small business owners, students, and retirees are being forced to carry a burden they never asked for. People who have spent their whole lives building their communities are now watching them fall apart, and they feel helpless to stop it. That's why I make these videos, to bring the truth to light. But let me be honest with you, these videos are not easy to make. It takes hours of research, editing, and fact-checking to bring you the most important stories that the mainstream media won't cover. If you appreciate this kind of content, if you believe the truth needs to be heard, then please subscribe to my channel. It's one simple click, but it makes a huge difference. It helps me keep going, it helps this channel grow, and most importantly, it helps spread awareness. So before you go, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this video with others who need to see it. Together, we can keep the conversation going. Together, we can fight for the truth. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay aware, and I'll see you in the next video. Did you know that in 2025, the US is facing the largest wave of illegal immigration in history? Just last year, over 3 million migrants crossed the southern border, shattering all previous records. That's nearly the entire population of Chicago entering the country in just 12 months. And guess what? The numbers are still rising. Border facilities are overwhelmed. Cities are struggling to provide shelter, and the system completely broken. But here's the real shocker. This crisis isn't just about border security anymore. It's affecting the economy, public services, national security, and even local communities in ways most people don't realize. So why is America's immigration crisis spiraling out of control in 2025? And more importantly, how bad can it really get? In this video, we're breaking down the 10 biggest reasons behind this crisis, from record-breaking crossings to government inaction, and we're counting down from number 10 to number 1. So make sure you stay till the end, because by the time we get to the number 1 reason, you'll see exactly why some experts are calling this the most urgent crisis in modern American history. Number 10. Record-breaking border crossings. America's southern border is seeing the highest number of illegal crossings in history, and the numbers are only getting worse. In 2024 alone, over 3 million migrants crossed into the U.S. illegally. To put that into perspective, that's more people than the entire population of Nevada entering the country in just 1 year. And here's where things get even more alarming. Border officials are overwhelmed like never before. Detention facilities are packed beyond capacity, with some holding nearly double the number of people they were designed for. In certain areas, officers are forced to release migrants into the U.S. because they simply don't have enough space or resources to process them properly. This surge in crossings isn't just a logistical nightmare, it's a humanitarian crisis. Families, many with young children, are risking their lives to make the dangerous journey. Smugglers and cartels are taking advantage of the chaos, charging desperate migrants thousands of dollars for a chance to cross. Some don't survive. Others are trafficked. And those who do make it? Many end up in overcrowded shelters or living on the streets of major U.S. cities. So what's causing this historic surge? Some blame weak border policies. Others point to rising violence and economic collapse in countries like Venezuela, Haiti, and Guatemala. Whatever the reason, one thing is clear. The U.S. is struggling to keep up with the flood of migrants, and there's no sign of it slowing down. And if you think this is bad, wait until you hear about the next problem, a completely broken asylum system that's making this crisis even worse. Number 9. Strained asylum system. America's asylum system is on the brink of collapse, and it's only making the immigration crisis worse. Right now, there are over 2 million pending asylum cases, the highest backlog in U.S. history. Some migrants wait 5 to 7 years just to have their cases heard. And while they wait, many are released into the U.S., allowed to live and work with no guarantee they'll ever be deported, even if their claims are denied. But here's the shocking truth. Many migrants know how to game the system. But some are coached by smugglers or activists to say the right things to claim asylum, even if they don't actually qualify under U.S. law. Once they file a claim, they're often allowed to stay while their case drags on for years, making it nearly impossible to remove them later. Meanwhile, the sheer volume of cases is overwhelming judges and immigration officers. Many courts are handling thousands of cases at a time, forcing some judges to make decisions in just a few minutes. The result? A system that's completely dysfunctional, with legitimate asylum seekers stuck in limbo while fraudulent cases clog the process. Cities across the U.S. are feeling the impact. With nowhere to house new arrivals, places like New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles are turning hotels into migrant shelters, straining local resources and angering residents. So what happens when an already broken system is pushed beyond its limits? It leads to something even worse: criminal networks stepping in and exploiting the chaos. And that's exactly what's happening now. In the next section, we'll expose how human trafficking and cartels are thriving because of America's immigration crisis. Number 8. Increased human trafficking and cartel activity. The immigration crisis isn't just about border crossings, it's also fueling one of the largest human trafficking operations in the world. Right now, Criminal organizations and cartels are making billions of dollars by smuggling desperate migrants across the border. Some pay as much as $10,000 per person for a dangerous journey that could cost them their lives. But here's the dark reality. Many of these migrants never reach safety. Instead, they fall into the hands of traffickers who exploit them for labor, sex work, or ransom. Women and children are especially vulnerable, with reports showing that over 60% of female migrants are sexually assaulted along the journey. And for those who can't pay the smugglers, some are forced into debt slavery, working for cartels just to survive. The problem doesn't stop at the border. Once inside the U.S., trafficking networks continue to operate in major cities, hiding victims in plain sight. Law enforcement agencies are struggling to keep up, as cartels have become more sophisticated, using encrypted apps, safe houses, and even American businesses to cover their tracks. Meanwhile, drug cartels are taking full advantage of the chaos. With border security stretched thin, cartels are smuggling record amounts of fentanyl into the U.S., fueling the deadliest drug crisis in American history. In 2024 alone, fentanyl overdoses killed over 70,000 Americans, and experts say it's only getting worse. So why isn't the government cracking down on these dangerous networks? Because political gridlock is stopping any real action. And that brings us to the next reason why America's immigration crisis is out of control: a government that simply can't agree on what to do. Number 7. Political gridlock and inaction. If you're wondering why the immigration crisis keeps getting worse, here's your answer. Washington is completely paralyzed. For years, Democrats and Republicans have been fighting